Gosh. Well, if there's a thing.
The top takeaway from the study is that there is a lot more to learn.
It's turned my world completely upside down. We damn well deserve to know, and we should know, because this planet belongs to all of us.
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries.
And we know they've been bringing these craft down deliberately. What happens if they bring the wrong one down?
So there has been activity by non-human technology that has caused harm to...
What I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
And there were no exercises, military or police counter-terrorism exercises on that night. The mainstream media lied, and I proved they lied. Is this part of my imagination?
Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Caz Clarke from the Pentyrch Incident. And I want to say thank you so much for all of your comments and for asking me to come back. And I actually owe you the respect to come back and answer your comments live. I want to say thank you to everyone that commented, to my trolls, my debunkers. Thank you. And actually, I do forgive you for what you say, because I do this for everyone, for the whole of humanity, and that includes you, because this case is so important.
The first question says, this is one of the best UFO cases I have ever heard. Caz is a force to be reckoned with. It's as if the UFO showed its presence in front of her so she would fight for disclosure.
Thank you. I do believe that they do choose us. Everyone I've spoken to seems to have been chosen for some reason. I can't explain that. But certainly they came to us that night. And it certainly put a passion inside of me to want to know the truth. Because I'm not a ufologist. This was not an interest of mine. And so now I know that the authorities have lied to us, and I've proved the authorities have lied to us. It's turned my world completely upside down. And as much as we don't have a right to know, because I've been told that, we damn well deserve to know, and we should know, because this planet belongs to all of us.
This question is off Sugar Snap 1578. I hope this lady will be safe. They won't want to get this out. If anything happens to her, we will know why.
You're right. It worries me every day. Every day I have to get into my car. I have to check to make sure that somebody hasn't placed an incendiary device under it, because I was threatened with perhaps a fatal car accident. Maybe I do need protection, and I'm surprised I'm still here. But maybe in a way, they've allowed me to continue, because for them, this is just another story, like Roswell or Rendlesham, which were both real events. But yeah, I hope I'm still here next week.
This question is from Charles C. said 1974, and he says, the Pentyrch 2016 looks like an authentic UFO incident. Not sure why many UFO researchers don't think it's genuine. Perhaps Caz is so well spoken and informed, they are miffed. Nice interview.
Thank you for that comment. You know, I've come up against a lot of opposition, and I expected to. But I never expected it from my own UFO community. There are a lot of misogynists out there. There are a lot of people out there who I walked away from. And there seems to be an awful lot of jealousy for some reason. This is not about me. This has never been about me. This is about all of us. Every single one of us. And we damn well know, and we should know the truth. And these people should be disgraced because of what they're doing. They're shouting people down when these people are, and then other people that have come forward for the very first time, you know, talking about their experiences, and they're being trolled and debunked by people that call themselves ufologists. You should be ashamed of yourself.
This question is from Sunshine QK8QE. I followed this lady's story with great interest until she stated at 1834 that she never left her house for 18 months. Who got her shopping in for her? What if she had to go to the doctor's or a dentist appointment? Also, Caz stated a man's voice told her to tell the world what she had witnessed. How can an alien speak English?
Okay, well, firstly, I didn't see any of Spielberg's funny-looking aliens. And you're absolutely right. If you want to take me literally, a lot of people do on every word I say. Yes, I had to go shopping. I didn't mention that I had to get rushed into hospital because it nearly killed me. So yes, I had to go to the hospital too. But I mean on a social basis. I never went out. And as for it speaking to me in English, I question what these things were, because these things seemed to be alive, like they were the essence of life encapsulated in these things. Were these the angels of light? Because there are no descriptions of them. And if they are, what our ancestors wrote about, did they speak to Mary in English or Hebrew? Did they speak to the shepherds on the hill in English or Hebrew? Did they speak to Mohammed in English? I don't think so. Whatever these things are, speak to us in our languages, and I don't understand that, but it spoke to me.
Interesting that she says it came through the slip of space and not outer space. May lend to the theory that it's not E.T., but us, or descendants or cousins of us.
You know, there's a lot of stories out there, but I don't believe they are related to us in any way at all. I didn't see any biologics. I saw the essence of life, like an energy. And actually, Earth is part of 2 galaxies, not 1. We're actually part of the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy, and were originally. And that is only visible in infrared. And it might explain why the Hubble telescope was fitted with state-of-the-art infrared cameras, and every star in that galaxy has been mapped. Now, every UFO sighting, major UFO sighting in the world, it's happened on these ley lines, these energy points on Earth. And perhaps we believe now that they are using them as some form of conduit to be able to come here. But I don't believe that we are part of them at all.
Do you think there are some that are descendants of us?
I think they probably manipulated our DNA in the past. You know, there are things that I could talk about regarding the Ark of the Covenant and Mr. Ron Wyatt, who found the blood on the Ark that only has 24 chromosomes.
Interesting. Darren 9336. So we set a trap for a UFO and shot it down? What the heck is going on?
You know, what really worries me is not just that the military knew that they were coming, but that our response to them was to set an ambush with £3.8 billion of equipment. And our military seem to have had carte blanche to do what they want for almost 100 years now. And we know they've been bringing these craft down deliberately. What happens if they bring the wrong one down? What does that make us? Because I didn't witness any hostility from them, but I witnessed a lot from us that night. What happens if they come back with their warships? You know, is this why we have an armed military in space now?
Robert's Digital. How can we be sure she's not reading us a bedtime story, though?
I'd love to read you a bedtime story. This is not a bedtime story. I've been accused of using the same terminology over and over again. And I think during this interview is just a prime example of how people hang on my every word, especially when I said I didn't go out for 18 months and then someone picked up, well, must have gone shopping. So I have to be literal. I stay to what I know, what I saw, and I will not change the wording for anyone. So if it comes across as being rehearsed, I apologize. But I can only tell it one way. It only happened one way.
Heart o' Gnome. I love the fact that aliens come billions of light years just to interact with morons of our society.
Yeah, well, I don't think they travelled billions of light years. I think they travelled through conduits. And I don't know how long that conduit is, whether it be they're in that conduit for a week or 2 weeks, or whether it's instantaneous. But I think the point is, there were caretakers here, and we're certainly not alone here on this planet, let alone the ones that are transdimensional, that are moving between space and our atmosphere instantaneously, and from our atmosphere into bodies of water instantaneously. We don't have flying submarines even today. Why are they coming here? Maybe because Earth is a jewel in a desert, 4 billions of miles. I don't know, but there's something here or something within us that they need.
Jim Shaw 9449. Clearly, the only threat humanity has to worry about is humanity itself. And it's gone to the point where we're no longer asking if there are aliens, but why are humans hiding the facts?
I think the whole truth is quite frightening. I think they have created a problem for us, not the ETs, the military. And unfortunately, the military are not typical of human beings. They don't represent humanity. Where's the love? Where's the compassion? There is none within the military. Their only interest is weapons and technology. They do not represent me, and they shouldn't represent you, and we should be told what's going on. It's a very dangerous situation.
Sticking on to the military, Christy Barker 924 says, there's been a lot of talk about technology lately, but her story proves that the military at least already had advanced technology. How did they know when to expect the UFOs?
Okay. Ross Coulthard was kind enough to tell us last year that the military are actually monitoring for a frequency to know when these craft are going to, quote, appear. Not come down from outer space, appear. And they're able to track and monitor these craft using this frequency. It's what the satellites are about. We use Galileo over here, which is a bank of satellites, and America used GPS. And these satellites are interlinked. And they do a lot more than tell you where you are on the planet, you know. And it was one of the sticking points when we left the EU, when the EU tried telling our Ministry of Defence when they could use Galileo, because they are actually monitoring for these craft 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Bernard Molan 2976. Sounds like ridiculous nonsense. She's just got a good imagination for telling stories, or she's just nuts.
Well, thank you for that. I really did wish I had that much of an imagination. I'd be writing scripts if that were the case. And if this was just part of my imagination, with a £3.8 billion military operation going on, you'd think that the Ministry of Defence would be able to provide a single piece of paperwork for it. But they can't. I've caught the Ministry of Defence out lying multiple times. South Wales Police facing contempt charges, and I took them to the Information Commissioner's office and forced them to answer me because they refused. And there were no exercises, military or police counter-terrorism exercises on that night. The mainstream media lied, and I proved they lied. Is this part of my imagination?
Why do UFOs always hide from us, yet expose themselves to one or two people, usually in the Deep South? And why would they come here in the first place? The entire universe is made up of some basic materials. I'm sure she saw UFOs about 45 minutes after the mushrooms.
There are some rather special mushrooms I've heard in Wales, but that's not my game, I'm afraid. We are actually talking about different types here. There are at least 5 different types that live here on Earth, which is why David Grusch steered away from extraterrestrial, meaning simply off Earth, and said non-human intelligences. Here, on Earth, inside Earth, under the ocean, under the ice. And they hide? Ask yourself, look what happened in Pentyrch on the 26th of February 2016. Would you hide? And yes, they do show themselves to individuals. And they choose us. And I've covered this before. I don't know why. Maybe because we're pure of heart and pure of mind and don't have nefarious intention. But they do choose us for a reason.
Frank Coppinger says, how is it a close encounter when then UFO landed miles away?
Oh, Frank, if you please watch some of my presentations. The actual pyramid was about 200 meters away from us, with the barrel-shaped objects that approached us afterwards. One came right over the top of me, and one stayed about 20 feet away from me. These things I saw up close and personal, but the object they shot down, which we believed was a deliberate decoy, crashed into Smilock Woods 5 miles away, yes. So you're half right. Please look at our presentations that you'll find on my YouTube channel, the Pentyrch Incident.
Trevly Godmuck says she is an alien.
I think we all are. I think every single human being on this planet are aliens. I don't think this is our planet at all. Without preaching, there's such things as the seraphim in the book of Genesis, which are depicted as half man, half serpent. These things were also seen in India, carved into stone. They called them the Naga, and they said that they were responsible for the civilizations, every civilization on Earth. So whose planet is this really?
Rusghoul2918. I don't think it helps to have the words catatonic, abyss, and energized in the same sentence. No ordinary person talks like that. She's obviously well educated, but it discredits the account if it comes across like a literacy masterpiece.
I can't help the way that I speak, and I won't apologize for it.
Thank you, Caz, for answering those comments. What I want to do is just go through a couple of topics that seem quite relevant at the moment. Seems like the last few months has been a lot of talk of UFOs. And I think the first thing I want to, hear your take on is David Grusch.
Absolutely fantastic. The man is amazing. He has the credentials. He is who he says he is. But he's not just an ordinary whistleblower, because he's come forward with the blessing of the Department of Defense. Because President Trump ordered the Pentagon to tell Congress everything they knew and gave them 180 days in order to do so. When President Trump's term came to an end, Mr. Biden took over. And then what we got was a very diluted case of that 5% of these vehicles were unknown, but they didn't go any further. That's not what President Trump ordered. He ordered the Pentagon to tell us everything they knew, or to tell Congress everything they knew. And so David Grusch was selected to go forward. And as much as he didn't say too much within the public hearing, because he's unable to, I'm pretty sure that he did within the SCIF. And if you don't know what a SCIF is, it's a soundproof room where no electronics are allowed, so that people can speak openly and in secret as to what is really going on. And there was a lot more said. He talked about the fact that the US government have non-human intelligent vehicles and bodies. And those are the ones from here, because I think you'll find that he steered away from extraterrestrial. Those are the ones that are here. And I think he's an extraordinarily brave man. I know that Congress has spoken to multiple witnesses who are still serving. So it's not just David Grusch. And I commend him for his bravery, because we should know.
The Peru sightings, have you heard anything on this?
Yes, I have. The Peru sightings and the people that have been attacked, and this has been going on since July, is quite a frightening situation for these people. And it's real. The official explanation, which is laughable, is that these are gold miners wearing jetpacks. I've seen just about every gold mining program on the television and on the internet, and I've never seen one use a jetpack. It's not part of their equipment. These people are being hunted, and they've talked about the 15-year-old girl that was attacked, but not many blog sites have actually covered the fact that a man was killed. And they call them Los Percaras, which means face peelers. And this is a myth that's been handed down from generation to generation over the years. And these things exist. They have footage of these things that were hunting them. They were shooting them with shotguns and they were getting up again. I mean, that's a scary situation if you can't shoot these things. The man that was found the next morning had his face removed, and they covered his body with banana leaves to keep the flies off him until the police turned up. And clearly his face had been removed. The skull was completely white, no eyes, ears, tongue. And this is why they call them face peelers. They were described as being 7 feet tall. And Phil Schneider, who was a geologist for the American military, who was responsible for helping build the underground facilities there, described the same creatures underground. He said they smelt like the worst garbage ever. And he shot 2 of those things. Perhaps they weren't wearing the silver suits that the Peru people said these were. And he was shot in return by the 3rd one. It blew his fingers off of his hands, blew his toenails off, and it was his dog tags that saved his life. Well, actually, the Marine that was with him saved his life, and in doing so, lost his own life. And he said those things were about 7 feet tall. They're not the little small grey aliens that were told about. These things are large and powerful. They're a parasitic subterranean race. And they're here. And maybe this is what President Trump was trying to wipe out with the underground explosions, not earthquakes. Why our soldiers are being trained in subterranean warfare. Think about that. Because they're here.
You mentioned on your case that you didn't think they were beings. It was like an energy. So are you saying that these are different entities traveling all, different parts of the world, or are they connected in any way?
I think we're talking about different types here. We have those that are here, those that are underground, that some are parasitic. There are those that are under the ocean we're not even allowed to know about. Those that certainly the Nazis had contact with, that's not a joke. They came back with physics 50 years in advance of what we even knew or could understand. But then we have these new ones that are transdimensional, that seem to be pure energy. I didn't see any aliens or any pilots. And yes, I believe they are different, very different. And we're foolish if we think there are just one type,
What do you think of Dr. Stephen Greer?
Stephen Greer is fantastic, but is he an A&E doctor? Let's think about that for a moment. This is a man that was an A&E doctor who says out of his own mouth that he's briefed 4 presidential administrations, that he's debriefed over 1,000 soldiers. Who is this person, really? Who is he? He's approached the Senate with a ream of paper that lists every underground facility on our planet. He's certainly privy to certain information we're not. And he's got security clearances so high that he can brief the president himself. I think he's a very brave man and knows a lot more than he's actually telling us. But I'd like to know who he really is.
So are you saying that he is basically part of the military, really? Or because you hear these terms get thrown about: controlled opposition, shills,
He would have to be able to brief 4 presidential administrations.
Does that help his credibility?
I think so, yes. I'd like him to come forward and tell us what he really knows. There are a lot of people like Nick Pope that will never tell us what they really know because of the Official Secrets Act. And there's too much secrecy. The time for secrecy is over. We need to come together on this planet as a race. The very word as JFK said, secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. They need to tell us the truth, all of them.
Something else that's been in the media quite a lot lately is, the reports on wildfires, especially in places like Hawaii. But the other conversation that's kind of been thrown in the mix is direct energy weapons. I know you're not really a conspiracy theorist, but, talking about the military and their technology, do you know anything about this?
No, a conspiracy is only something that doesn't tally with the official narrative. When you look at the evidence, because the evidence will tell you what really happened. Nothing blue burned. And that's the only color that an energy weapon doesn't burn, is blue. How can the alloys on a car melt? And yet cloth, blue-colored umbrellas next to it not burn? Something else happened there. All of the celebrity houses were painted blue beforehand. There was a meeting in January this year because they wanted to turn Hawaii into an AI city, all electric. But in order to do that, they need to move everybody out. There's a lot more horrific things that have been going on that I don't really want to talk about, that FEMA have been caught doing by the US Marines. It certainly was an energy weapon, and that is domestic terrorism.
Something that seems to be going on forever as well, with no end in sight, is the war in Ukraine, the talks of war with Taiwan and China. Is this a cover-up, or is there a link here with UFOs?
Everything is linked, Cullen. Look, if you're a superpower, you're not going to go in with 2,000 boots on the ground. If you're a superpower, you're going to do your airstrikes. You're going to take out their infrastructure, their communications, their airport, which is still open, by the way. The Ukrainian airport is still open. A superpower does not start a war with 2,000 boots on the ground. There are some evidence of UFOs in the Ukraine and phantom UFOs in the Ukraine. And this happened coincidentally the time that this alleged war began. Terrestrial wars are created to cover up extraterrestrials, whether it be their arrival. World War II, they talked about Foo Fighters. Our pilots talked about Foo Fighters. If there are huge explosions going off during wartime, you expect it. But if it's in peacetime, as it was here, it rattles people's cages. They want to know what's going on. It's out of the ordinary. But if there's a terrestrial war as a cover, people will accept it.
I think to add on to this connection, maybe, is something I've covered recently. And I've had a lot of messages off people, and I've had some weird things kind of tying together recently. But migration.
Look, let me first say I'm not a racist, okay? But men go to war, and women and children flee war. Where are all the women and children, please? Everybody that's coming over are fighting age men. They're soldiers. Now, are they there to protect us? Or are they there to round us up? What are these immigration centers for if we're not using them? What are all these new prisons for if we're not using them? Prisoners are being released early on tag because our prisons are overcrowded. So what are they built for? What are the FEMA camps built for? The largest one can accommodate 2 million people. But where the hell do they expect to find 2 million people? And more importantly, why? There's something else going on they're not telling us about because it's cataclysmic. And we should be told. We should be allowed to make preparations. Putin, who's supposed to be the bad guy, has made preparations for every single one of his citizens, man, woman, and child. They all have a space. But what are our governments doing for us? Absolutely nothing. So you want to know what immigration is really all about? Ask them, because they're working with the SAS. They're working with our military. They are soldiers. That's my view on immigration in this country. Why is it that our own veterans are living on the streets? Why our own people are living on the streets? And yet these people can come over and live in hotels and get £175 a week. That's more than our unemployed get because they're on the payroll. There is something being planned and it's not good. Not good at all for any of us.
It's a very frightening thought, Caz. It was only literally a week ago, someone sent me a video of a military base that was boarded up, and people messaging saying, yeah, this is for immigration, and it is a frightening thought, and very plausible what you're saying. I think I went up to Llanelli not long ago, and they said, we've all said no to this. Like, it's not like this is something we've agreed with. We said no. And it's like everything about us is being stripped away, isn't it?
We're not given a choice. And I said before, where are all the women and children? Men go to war. Women and children flee war. Why are they coming here? There's no war here. Why aren't they fighting for their own countries? Why are they coming here? And why are we accommodating them when we're not even accommodating our own people?
Something very recent, talking about 24 hours ago, was a closed airspace in Wales.
There was a closed airspace across the whole of the UK, and it was supposed to have been some kind of glitch. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but it was something electronic. There was an electronic problem, so all the planes were grounded for 12 hours. But I have a WhatsApp group where I have watchers all across the world now. And I was told that the Indian airspace also went down. And that is too much of a coincidence for me, because one of the things they did for Pentyrch was they closed the entire Welsh airspace. And they may have changed their MO just a little bit, because they don't use the smaller reconnaissance and surveillance aircraft anymore. They're actually using fast jets to respond to these things. They still have to close the airspace. So why was it that when the UK went down, the whole of India went down too, on the other side of the world? And I think it's UFO related. In fact, I'm 99% sure it is.
I think we probably want to finish off as well on the fact that we've had so many messages. I mean, I've had email after email. And I want to say thank you to all those people who have emailed, because they have all been in support. You get the one or two, this is rubbish, this is a lie, but majority, wanted to support. And one of the main things they were talking about was signing the petition. People thought that we wasn't doing our job properly because we didn't put the signed petition in the comments box, but it wasn't actually available at the time. And Caz, maybe you want to talk a little bit more about it, but what's happened and what do you want to see happen in the future?
Okay. We actually launched the petition and it was rejected on the grounds that a petition already existed that was similar. So we checked, because we were pretty sure that wasn't the case. And the petition that exists is for a reporting office, a UFO reporting office, which is not what we're asking for. We're asking for full disclosure on UFOs or UAPs or UAVs or whatever it is they want to call them, and non-human intelligences. So at present, we've appealed the decision at the moment. And I don't hold out much hope for the appeal process. But as I said before, petitions have a shelf life in this country. And in November, that petition, the existing petition, comes to an end. So if we don't get a result from our appeal, we will launch in November without fail. So the petition will be there to be signed. And I want to say thank you to everybody that supported this case. I want to say thank you to all of my skeptics. I would like you to sit on my jewelry and to look at the evidence, please. And I want to thank all of my debunkers and all of my trolls, because I forgive you. Because this is about all of us. This is about humanity. I've got no interest in UFOs, but I have a very big interest in human beings, and that includes you. So thank you.
The Central Club.
You know, I don't mind at all. You can ask me anything you want. So I've always said that to everybody that's ever interviewed me. Ask me what you want, because the truth will always be the truth, you know. And I want to thank, you know, I welcome skeptics. Absolutely. People should be skeptical, but I ask them to look at the evidence, because it's there for them. They are my peers. I would like to see all skeptics sit on my jewelry and judge me by looking at the evidence, you know. But as for my trolls and my debunkers, I actually forgive them, because, you know, I happen to value human life and all human life on this planet, and that includes them. And it's a huge burden, because I know we should know. It turned my world upside down, and it's not been the same since.